How to make a business successful. Most people who start a business do not fail because they had a bad idea. They fail because they did not understand what actually makes a business work. And those are two very different problems, so let's fix that. Here is what separates businesses that survive from businesses that do not. Why most businesses struggle. Starting a business feels exciting. You have an idea, you take the leap, and for a while the momentum of starting something new carries you forward. But momentum is not a strategy, and at some point almost every business owner hits the same wall. Revenue is inconsistent, costs are higher than expected, the right customers are hard to find, and the day-to-day running of the business starts to feel like it is pulling in every direction at once. This is not bad luck. This is what happens when a business is built on enthusiasm without structure. The good news is that structure can be learned. And once you understand the fundamentals, a lot of what felt overwhelming starts to make sense. Start with a problem worth solving. Every successful business is built on the same foundation. It solves a problem that enough people have and are willing to pay to fix. This sounds obvious, but it is where most businesses go wrong before they even launch. The founder falls in love with their product or their idea, and they skip the most important question. Does anyone actually need this? The businesses that survive long-term are not always the ones with the most original ideas. They are the ones that identified a real problem, understood it better than anyone else, and built something that genuinely solved it. Before anything else, you need to be able to answer this clearly. What problem does my business solve? Who has that problem? And why would they choose my solution over anything else that already exists? If you cannot answer those three questions simply and specifically, that is where your work starts. Know exactly who your customer is. One of the most common mistakes in early-stage businesses is trying to sell to everyone. It feels logical. A bigger audience means more potential customers. But in practice, it almost always produces the opposite result. When you try to appeal to everyone, your message becomes vague. Your marketing becomes unfocused, and the people who would actually buy from you never feel like you are speaking directly to them. The businesses that grow consistently are the ones that know their customer in specific detail, not just age and location, but what they care about, what frustrates them, what they have already tried, and what would make them trust you enough to spend their money. The tighter your understanding of that person, the more effective every decision you make becomes. Your product improves because you know exactly what they need. Your marketing improves because you know exactly what to say. And your retention improves because you built something for them, not for everyone. Revenue is not the same as profit. This is one of the most important distinctions in business, and one of the least understood by first-time founders. Revenue is the total money coming into your business. Profit is what is left after every cost has been paid. And the gap between those two numbers is where businesses quietly die. A business can be generating significant revenue and still be losing money every month if the costs of running it are higher than what is coming in. This happens more often than most people realize, and it often goes unnoticed until the damage is already serious. Understanding your numbers is not optional. You do not need to be an accountant. But you do need to know at any given moment what your margins are, where your money is going, and whether the business is actually generating profit or just activity. Revenue feels good. Profit is what keeps the business alive. Customers who come back are worth more than new ones. Most early-stage businesses spend almost all of their energy trying to find new customers. And while acquiring new customers matters, it is one of the most expensive things a business can do. Keeping an existing customer costs significantly less than finding a new one. And a customer who comes back repeatedly, who trusts your business, and who recommends you to others is worth far more over time than a single transaction from someone new. This is why retention matters as much as acquisition. A business with strong retention has a compounding advantage. Every satisfied customer becomes a foundation for future revenue without requiring the same marketing spend to generate it. So the question is not just how do I get more customers? It is how do I make the customers I already have want to come back? Consistency beats intensity. One of the patterns you see in businesses that make it long-term is that they are not necessarily the ones that worked the hardest in a single burst. They are the ones that showed up consistently over time. Intense periods of effort are useful. But they are not a substitute for the steady, repeatable systems that keep a business functioning when motivation is low and pressure is high. The businesses that scale are the ones that built processes. They documented how things work. They made it possible for the business to operate without everything depending on one person making every decision every day. Because a business that can only run when its founder is fully switched on is not really a business. It is a job with extra steps. Goal is to build something that works as a system, not something that only works when you are running on adrenaline. What actually makes a business successful? So let's bring this together simply. Successful businesses solve a real problem for a specific group of people. They understand their customer deeply. They manage their numbers honestly. They prioritize keeping customers as much as finding new ones. And they build consistent systems rather than relying on bursts of effort. None of this is secret. None of it is complicated in theory. But the businesses that actually apply these principles consistently are far fewer than the ones that understand them intellectually. The difference between a business that survives and one that does not is almost never the idea. It is the execution. It is the willingness to do the unglamorous, structural work that most people skip because it is less exciting than the idea itself. And that work, the fundamentals, is always available to anyone willing to do it.